Hey, my name is Shelly, and this is my October TBR. I did a fall TBR video, and I'll link that above, but as a mood reader, doing a TBR 3 months in advance is just painful. I want to stick to it, but I can't. And when I made the TBR video, I was very much in my epic fantasy phase. Like, I was feeling epic fantasy like crazy, and I got my fix, and now I can't believe I'm saying this because I swore off of it. I'm going back to Romantasy. But there's a catch. I will not be reading any romantic fantasy with the word fae involved. I am so over fae. It's been done. It's like back in 2009 where vampires were all the craze because of Twilight. Just the oversaturation of fae is just, I'm over it. I'm done. And I will be leaning towards a bit more darker, less youthful. As much as I appreciate YA, it's just not a genre or a subgenre or age demographic that works for me anymore. And if it works for you, that's fantastic. But I'm an older millennial and that time has passed. I will still read YA every once in a while, but as it stands, I just, unless it's something special, I'm just gonna skip it. So I'm going to be aiming towards darker romantasies. I hate that term. And because it is October and the spooky season, I'm going to try and pepper in a couple of darker fantasies to combine with romantasies. Or, if I could do both, that'd be great. Without further to say, let's talk about the books I'm going to read. The first book I want to talk about is not a romantic fantasy, and that is The Wickwire Watch by Jacqueline Hagan. I had a really hard time saying Wickwire Watch. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Why can't I do that? And I can't. So I've actually started this book. I started it yesterday, and I know it's kind of cheating because yesterday was September and today is October. I'm going to be finishing it in October, so that's what counts. I'm listening to the audiobook, and I'm already on chapter 15. When I heard about this book, I heard about it obviously because it was a SBFBO finalist. It was getting a lot of hype, and a lot of people who read it said it was really fantastic. But everybody who reviewed it struggled with categorizing this book, and I didn't really understand it. I heard it was like steampunk. I heard it was like Howl's Moving Castle. I heard it was like Oliver Twist, and I even heard it was like Liza Locke Lamora. I personally kind of get a little bit of Harry Potter vibes from it so far, and it's also a dark fantasy. So a lot of people have said it was very much like a lot of things. So I didn't know what to expect going into this book. And what I can say is it is very much like a lot of things. It is amalgamation of so many different genres, but it fits together so seamlessly. In the beginning, it's kind of like a book noir, kind of like murder mystery. And at first I'm like, oh, well, I'm not really one for murder mysteries, but everybody keeps talking about how it's like genre blending. So I decided to give it a chance. I'm so glad that I did because it is so, so good. I highly recommend the audiobook. It really connects it together. So obviously I'm going to be reading that in October. The next book I'm going to talk about is a physical read, and that is going to be The Chasm by Stacey McNewan. This is the second book in the Glacian trilogy. And spoiler alert for my September wrap-up, I read The Ledge, which is the first book in this trilogy, and absolutely loved it. It wasn't quite 5-star, but it was definitely like a bingeable book, and I really liked a lot of it. So I'm hoping that Chasm takes what was introduced in book 1 and just elevates it, elevates the writing, elevates the plots and the characters. What makes this book stand out, not only because of the beautiful cover, what makes this story extra special to me is it is a romantic fantasy, but it is the main character, Jocelyn, that really pulls me in. She is like a feral beast, and she's hilarious, but she has a very deadpan sense of humor, and she's got like a no-nonsense personality, and it really works really well. I mean, I can understand how that character would be off-putting to some. The first book, we are introduced to a group of humans, I guess like a small town of humans, that are basically living on the ledge of a mountain. They cannot get off the ledge. It'll kill them. There is no way. They're literally trapped. They're imprisoned there. They are imprisoned by these flying ice creatures called glacians. These glacians basically treat the humans like cattle. The ledge is a very cutthroat community, survival of the fittest, kind of. So every so often there's this gathering in the glacians come and basically collect these sacrifices and take them to their Glaceon kingdom. Obviously, Dawson gets chosen, and she has been given an option, and she chooses to do this trial, which is basically like a death sentence, but she's such a stubborn person that she's like, I'd rather die on my feet than choose this other option. Because of choosing this option, she meets another character, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I finished Ledge like yesterday, and the ending, my gosh, I needed more. Literally went to Amazon, I ordered priority, this came to my door this morning, thank God it was available. So I will be reading this, and this is gonna be my physical read for sure. If you're looking for a romantic fantasy that's a little bit on the darker end and has very interesting characters and a very interesting world building, and you're looking for something a little shorter, like I think this book is less than 400 pages and the first book was less than 300 pages, I highly recommend checking out this book for sure. I'm going to talk more about The Ledge in my September wrap-up, so stay tuned for that. So the next book I plan to read in October is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This was originally a sub-pub book, and I missed the boat because it got picked up by a trad publishing company, and now they've pulled majority of the sub-pub books on Amazon. Because I'm kind of a weird particular person, I like all my books to match, so I decided to go with the traditionally published one, which is a hardcover, so then all of them will match going forward. That is coming out, I believe, October 9th, so I will be getting it very soon. This book has gotten a lot of hype lately. From what I've heard, the first book is not the best. It's not very romantic. It's more like setting up the plot and putting our characters in place. And then going forward, the book series gets more romantic, more epic, you know, the things we crave. I'm kind of going off my memory here of what this book is about. And I think it's like gods and humans. And basically the gods and the humans had children, and these offsprings are now like ruling the world, as far as I know. Besides that, I kind of try to hold back. The reason why I picked this up is because it did not have Fae, and it was highly recommended by a lot of people. Like anytime I checked romantic fantasy, this book would pop up. So the covers are really pretty. It got traditionally published, and I am gonna jump on this hype bandwagon with everybody. The next book I want to read is a urban fantasy, and that is Dead Witch Walking by Kim Harrison. I actually don't own a copy of it yet because I believe they're re-releasing the series with brand new covers, so I'm waiting for this cover because the other cover was your typical urban fantasy cover, which I absolutely hate. So I'm waiting for this cover to come out. I believe it comes out today or this week, so I will be getting it very soon. I'm surprised I've never heard about this series because it is an older urban fantasy series, and it has been around for a while, and I believe there's like something like 17 books in the series, but I have heard that this series is more on the high fantasy side. It's got that high fantasy feel, but in an urban fantasy setting, and that is all I know. Obviously, there's a witches involved, which is on par with spooky Halloween seasons. I will be doing a buddy read on my Discord channel. If you're interested, come join. I haven't decided yet, but yes, it will be mid-October for sure. And the next book I want to talk about is another buddy read that we're going to be doing on my Discord channel, and that is Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. I screw up the title every single time. My dyslexia just can't handle the title. This is the beginning of a very epic series. I talked about this more in depth in my fall TBR, but this is like an older classic, almost like borderline YA kind of fantasy series by Mercedes Lackey. And Mercedes Lackey is just like a staple in the fantasy world. It is a crime that I have not read her books yet, so we will be doing a buddy read in my Discord channel for this book. Some of us have read it, so it's going to be a reread. Some of it's going to be a first read, like myself. If you're interested in this buddy read, we will be reading at the end of the month, and I will put the link down below for my Discord. Another book that I would like to get to is another romantasy, and that is Blood and Steel by Helen Scherer. I tried looking online to see how you pronounce their last name, and everybody said it a little bit differently, so I hope I kind of got in the ballpark. So the series has 4 books, and I'm not sure if it's completed or if it's ongoing, but I've heard a lot of good things. I've heard that it's a dark romantasy, really dark, and there's no fae. Because of that, because they got the dark and the no fae, and I believe a girl training to be assassin, those are all like things that I don't want to say trigger warning, but those are trigger words for me where I want to go and jump and read this book. So I will be listening to the audiobook. I believe some of us in my Discord are going to kind of do a loose buddy read. Yeah, so I can't really say much about it, but I am excited to jump into this dark romantic fantasy. The next two are maybes, and the first one being the Blacktonge Thief. The Blacktonge Thief by Christopher Buehlman. I've heard a lot of great things about this book. I've heard that it is very quirky, very funny, like found family, kind of like a silver-tongued thief who's got a black tongue instead. I know that this was published a few years ago, and there has not been a sequel, but I know that there is now a prequel to this that looks really fantastic, and I've heard that it's getting really great reviews. So I feel like right now is the best time to pick up this book. I've had it for a really long time, so it needs to be read soon. I love dark books with a lot of sense of humor and a lot of heart, so I think that I'm really going to connect with this book. And the next book that I hope to get to is The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence. I read the first book in the library series last year, and it was my favorite book of last year. So I'm really hoping to love this one as much as I loved the first one. I've had this book for quite a while, and I will be honest, I did start it, but I put it down because I just wasn't in the mood for the weirdness that this world is. And it is very weird and is very confusing and unique way of writing. So I wasn't quite in the mood for it, but I feel like I'm now kind of getting into that mood. So I do want to read this, especially since the third and final book of the series is coming out, I think early next year or mid next year. So I feel like now I should start getting to it, right? All right, so that is my October TBR. I know that I'm going to read at least 60% of these because I, one, priority buddy reads, and two, because I'm already reading them. So here's hoping that I actually get to all of them. If I do, that would be amazing. It would be a record because I have yet to read all of the books that I say I'm going to read for my TBRs. So fingers crossed. If you like this video, think about liking and subscribing. It really helps my channel grow. All of my socials are linked down below. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.